For those of you who have traveled to Vietnam or who know Vietnam, we have a very long coast, like an S shape. From Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi, it's actually about a 2-hour flight, longer than actually going from Ho Chi Minh City to Singapore, only an hour and a half. So we're quite a long, thin country. What that means, though, that we have a lot of nice beachfront property along the coast. So at the moment, the biggest development is in the central city called Da Nang. We also, at Vina Capital, we have a very large development in Da Nang area. And when we launched this project, the second home project in Da Nang, we initially thought we'll do a roadshow in Singapore, Hong Kong, to sell it to mostly foreigners who are coming in to buy. But to our surprise, when we launched this thing in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, all the buyers are Vietnamese. So there are money in Vietnam. They are looking at a second home, and this is a new development trend that we see that could be quite interesting. So we have Da Nang. If you go further south, there's Cam Ranh Bay, which is very nice weather. And then, of course, in the future, further south to that, there's Phan Thiết, but further south to that, there's another called Phu Quoc. So really, you have a 4-zone where you have sort of resort development trying to compete with some point in time in the future, but with Bali, Phuket, and so on and so forth. Now, I know that Mark at CBRE represent a couple of these projects in second home, basically beachfront villa. Maybe you can just share with us some of your thought on those.
This was a market that in the boom times, 2005 to 2008, really didn't exist at all. And it came about, as Don said, initially in the Da Nang area on the China Beach, the East Sea. And all of us were surprised. Don's rivals, Indochina, did a wonderful job at the Nam Hai, but that was mainly sold offshore. And the point that needs to be really understood for many of you that are thinking of coming to Vietnam or that haven't been to Vietnam for a while is that the market is now 99.9% Vietnamese at every level, whether it's for 7 Series BMWs, S-Series Mercedes, or $1 million homes. The other thing that's happened that's interesting is that the market's segmented as well. So there's the market that Don's talking about, which is been a fantastic performance for Vina and for other groups on that beach. But now there's other groups doing smaller units, aiming at the upper middle class. And
have you ever considered investing in the resort sectors or villa by the beach for sale at all, and why not?
We think that the local sell-through market for local buyers, for primary residences, is probably a demand that you can count on more easily than you could on secondary homes. Not to say that there isn't a market there, but it's just that we are a fairly small developer. We're fairly focused, and we try not to be things that we're not currently. And so we're very focused on delivering very high-quality buildings where we do get engaged. Mark, your comment earlier about differentiation. We have come to appreciate that the local buyers, and they are locals, we're not looking to sell to overseas at all. They're actually very sophisticated, and they can really appreciate a well-developed concept, well-executed product. So there are many of these cookie-cutter homes. None of us are involved in those, but there are cookie-cutter homes or just a plot of land with nothing on it. And there's probably a layer of demand for that, but people are much more interested in buying not just a home, but a space, an environment, and a community. And that's what some of the things that we are developing right now in District 9 that we're very excited about.
Okay.
Aims to push those envelopes.
So essentially you're saying the market's moving away from a very simple residential dwelling to more sophisticated community planning with possibly swimming pool, clubhouse, and all this stuff. So Don, what do you see there? Do you see a lot of those coming to your way to design?
Yeah, we're working on developments, gated compound developments, both in Ho Chi Minh City and in Hanoi at the moment. And I would completely agree with Jonathan. I mean, what those developers are looking for is to sell the lifestyle, the dream of a home in a secure compound with all the amenities and facilities within reach of the city centre, but suburban location, a green lifestyle. What we're seeing at the moment is that the developers are keeping the costs low in these villa compounds, but they create the environment, they create the dwellings, whether it be villa, semi-detached or row houses, but they keep the cost low by not fitting out the interior of these. They sell the dream, they sell it through a show villa.
Who's getting financing in Vietnam for what? And is any international bank actually financing real estate project in Vietnam?
I would say that generally yes, but it's highly relationship driven. For ourselves, actually, we have underwritten our projects with mostly equity.
Okay.
So we haven't turned towards the banks nearly as much, especially we're not doing a lot of the larger income properties. We're doing built-to-sell properties, where we do benefit from the pre-sale market. So,
discussing finance with Vietnamese developers is quite a tricky thing. In the first 5 years that CBRE was there, 98% of all our valuation work, appraisal work, was for foreign investors coming to do a joint venture. Now we've got ongoing 3 big portfolios, Vietnamese developer portfolios, one of which is 35 properties. And it's the biggest job we've ever undertaken, valuation job we've ever undertaken throughout the whole country. And this particular developer is working with Credit Suisse. And so there's a huge change of purely foreign work to now funds and local work. And the local developers are now using, obviously, as much onshore debt as they can, but are also reaching out to Singapore and to Hong Kong for people to help them source. We've seen convertible bonds. We'll see IPOs either in Hong Kong or in Singapore. We saw a lot of the AIM listings 2005 to 2007. I don't think we'll see many more of those. We'll see the companies or the funds that have survived going back into the market. The guys that have got it and can raise money offshore are still able to, but everyone else is having to look to the local banks and in a few cases now go to the big investment banks to see if it's possible to do a convertible bond or to raise an overseas listing. But it's something that the Vietnamese developers don't talk about a great deal. When the days were dark, 2008, they were able to borrow because of their connections, and they used them very well. And so the developments that you see, the big developments in Ho Chi Minh and in Hanoi, are almost without exception a couple of Korean projects, but everything else is Vietnamese.